What's going on, everybody? Welcome back for another week of the Reel Down. It's your host Garrett here. It's just me tonight. Jimmy, I guess, had to work late, so we're moving on without him tonight. Hope everybody had a good week and good weekend. Weather's starting to shift out here. It's definitely starting to move into more fall transition, fall patterns, and fall weather. It's football time. And I'm excited about that. Uh, Maybe not as excited after this past weekend, but hopefully we'll recover. um, Anyways, this week we are covering a pretty special event. It's this event almost never seems to disappoint, and it definitely showed out this past weekend. We have the runner-up and winner from the Susquehanna River event up in Pennsylvania for the 2023 Bassmaster Kayak Series event number 5. So it's their last event of the season. Um, Without further ado, we'll go ahead and bring on someone that I'm sure you all are familiar with. He's been on 2 or 3, maybe 4 times this year on a heater as usual, Mr. Rus Snyders.
What's up, guys?
What's
Thanks.
going on, man? Actually, you got a new title now, the 2023 Angler of the Year. I forgot about that.
Yeah, just from this last weekend at Susky, I'm big goal of mine to accomplish this year, and glad I was able to capture that title.
Yeah, that's pretty special. Did you ever think you'd be an Bassmaster Angler of the Year, but in a kayak?
I mean, once the tournaments came around, it's always
That
been
was
a
the
goal of
goal.
mine. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty cool for sure. Definitely really special.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you don't really need an introduction in our show, like as I said, but for anybody that's not familiar with you, give us a little rundown about yourself.
I've been kayak. My name's Rus Snyders. I live just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, in Pegram, and been fishing kayak tournaments for the last 6, 7 years.
He's a hammer, guys. I mean, it speaks for you. The results speak for themselves. With when it comes to you, um, and I'm glad to have you on our show.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I always enjoy it.
Yeah. Uh, well, with that, we'll bring on Josh as our other guest this week, the winner from the event. Josh, how you doing tonight? Let me take this banner.
Good, man. What's up, boys? How are you doing?
Doing good. What's up, Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sort of the anti-Rus Snyders. I don't ever fish tournaments. I don't have any Angler of the Year, National Angler of the Year titles, but I just like to catch smallmouth, and I got lucky. So yeah.
I mean, went to the perfect place for it. It seems like river event with smallmouth. That should
Yep.
be right up
Yeah,
your alley
dude.
then.
Susky's anybody that knows me knows I'm like smallmouth junkie. Um, and the Susky is about as good as it gets anywhere, man. That place is freaking just
It's insane.
it's a
Yeah.
wonderland. I mean, really.
Yeah.
Like it's just the stuff, like you can really go to any part of that river and just look out across the river, dude, and it's like, where do I fish? Like there's
Yeah.
just so much stuff. So
Well,
yeah,
I
it was
mean,
freaking
since you're
sick.
already talking about it, you want to give a little bit of a breakdown of how the Susky sets up and like kind of what kind of forage there is there, or and what I mean, obviously targeting smallmouth, but like river smallmouth, and how does that fishery set up? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there. This is my third time this year. It's one of my favorite places to fish. I mean, I'm sort of I would consider myself like a trophy smallmouth guy. Like I travel around all over the Midwest and beyond looking for huge smallmouth. I started the whole like Quest for 23 thing, if you guys have heard of that.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
like it's my kind of life's goal to catch a 23-inch river smallmouth, which I have not done, obviously. So
dude, that's tough.
um, yeah,
How?
the Susky's a friggin' beast though, dude. Like it's one of those rivers that if you haven't been there, there's really no words that could do it justice. I mean, I've heard it described as like a mile wide and a foot deep,
Mm.
which is pretty damn accurate. Like you can pretty
Yeah.
much jump out of your kayak and stand anywhere in the river. I mean, it's super.
Deep. Like most of the time, most of the rivers that I see around here, at least, they're a lot narrower and they're deep.
Yeah,
I mean, they
yeah,
got shallow sections and stuff still, but not
yeah.
like that.
Completely. Like, it's like a. I would say it's like a huge creek. That's kind of what it reminds me of. It's just
Huh.
like the like shallow, shallow rocky creek, but it has a little bit of everything. It has primary islands. It has this, grass. I don't even. It's like weed islands, like popping up everywhere. Which
Hmm.
that's the coolest part of that river. I don't know about how you feel, Russ, but like the grass
Yeah,
islands are freaking
yeah, all
sick.
the eel grass, mostly eel grass, a few other different kinds of grass. Also, saw a little bit of hydrilla too, way up the West Branch.
Wow.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
tons of islands. There's a few, a little bit of wood, and definitely a lot of, shoals. Some of them are bigger shoals, some are more kind of subtle shoals. But depending on where you're at the river, at least where I was, it was the deepest water I could find was about 5 feet deep in the 2.5, 3 mile stretch that I fished. But just
yeah,
so many places for them to hide, and just being how wide it is, it's just so easy to float down the river. And maybe you don't catch anything right where you're at, but if you just moved across a little bit, instead of
Yeah.
moving up and down, you can move across and come across a bunch of fish. And the
Wow.
interesting thing too is just how much the water color changes depending on where you're at. Most of the time, like one side is kind of known as the clear side, and then the other
mhm,
side is more dirty water. And that dirty
Like
water
on the
line kind of shifts
same
around.
mile stretch, like
Yeah, on the same
across,
mile
like
stretch, instead of moving down the river, you just move across on one
and
side
the
of the
water
river.
clarity changes.
Yeah, the water clarity changes drastically,
Wow.
which is pretty typical. I've only been there; it's only my second time there, but from last time and this time, from what I kind of hear, that's traditionally kind of how it sets up.
yeah. There's
What?
like there's two like basically there's two rivers. They're both the Susquehanna, but there's a West Branch and a North Branch,
Yeah.
and they come together to form the main stem, and it runs basically from like Sunbury down through Harrisburg.
Mhm.
And from what I've been told and what I've seen, the North Branch has a lot more. It goes up through like upper state New York, and it has a lot more farmland like in it. So like all that typical mud you see is going to be on that side of the river. Normally, like that side of the
Runoff
river
from like
stays.
pastures and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it's a lot
stays
siltier.
dirtier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Where the West Branch runs through more of like a mountainous area, and then it's coming down and clearing up the that side. I call it the highway side and the railroad side because there's a railroad track that
Mhm.
basically runs on the where the North Branch comes in.
Huh.
And a lot of times, yeah, exactly what Russ said. You'll go on one side and it's like chocolate milk, and the other side's got 3-4 foot of visibility. So it's just a
Wow.
weird dynamic. And I
Mhm.
don't, it's weird because sometimes the smallmouth like mud. They'll
Yeah.
like that kind of dirty water. I don't necessarily try to find clear water, but it makes the puzzle a little more difficult because of that. So
Is there
yeah,
like a pretty defined like mud line where they kind of meet at, or is it kind of
Probably
like
depends on where you're at. It kind of changes gradually.
yeah,
Sometimes a little bit quicker. It's not like a really hard line from what I saw, but that mud line will change. They were released. We had a little bit of rain come through on Friday and Saturday, and also they released a water. There's a right after the two rivers merge together. There's at Sunbury. There's a dam there, and they released a lot of water from that dam. I guess for the first time this year during the tournament, starting Saturday night into Sunday. So that made even the clear side that dirtied that up, even where there was just a
wow.
very
So
narrow area of clear water,
did you have
a lot of water flow.
like heavier current on day two then?
Yeah, definitely. The water came up
oh,
probably
Huh.
from
it's like
Friday to
three
Saturday. It
times as
came up a
much.
foot.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then it came
Jeez.
up
yeah,
like another foot on Sunday.
yeah. There's an inflatable. It's the world's largest inflatable dam on that river. It's wild. They call it the
Hmm.
Fiber Dam, but it's like it forms this area called Lake Augusta, which is like right below the where the North and the West Branch come together, and guys will run like pontoons and prop boats and stuff up there. It like creates this little recreational area. Well, they only keep that there during the warm months, and they deflate it at the end of the season, and the the schedule to deflate it's like anybody's guess. I read it was going to happen
Huh.
on October 2nd. Well, literally on 2:00 on Saturday, they just started bringing that dam down.
Oh,
And it
God.
was like, I was like, I had to go back upstream and I don't have a motor. So like,
Mhm.
I was like going back upstream and I was like, geez, my legs are burning. I was like, what is going on? And then I figured out, I was like, oh yeah, they started releasing that dam
The
down. And
inflatable dam.
yeah, it was making the trek back up to the truck a lot harder, but it's an interesting feature on that river for sure.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, altogether, that sounds like a pretty unique river with just how it sets up and all the different features and stuff it has. What are typically like the main types of forage that you guys see on that river? Like typical river forage, like crawfish and
Yeah, crawfish, hellgrammites. I did see some bluegill way up the
Mhm.
West Branch. And I heard there's not. Is there? I don't believe there's shad in there, right? Probably a lot of like creek chubs and
yeah,
stuff. That type of. A
yeah,
lot
just
of
like
like
kind
little
of
sucker fish and stuff. Little river
yeah,
creek
yeah.
fish.
I don't know what kind of
Tartars or
bait fish
whatever
are
they
in
are.
there. Where I was at, you could see some balls of bait. I don't know exactly what they were, but they were definitely some. I don't think they were shad, but um, they were definitely pushing bait where I was at.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know what kind, but I mean that river is like teeming with life. Like there's
Yeah,
Yeah,
stuff everywhere.
everywhere.
just all kinds of
They
stuff for
they
them to
probably
eat.
eat ducks and turtles and about
Yeah.
anything they can get their hands on. Rats, I'm sure they're
Yeah.
eating about everything. So because it's so shallow, it's a big diversity of just life in that river in general. So
Hmm.
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So going into did you guys both get a chance to practice for this event? Uh,
Hmm.
awesome.
yep.
I had
So
quite a bit. I got up
going
there.
into that, how did you decide how to break this fishery down? Did you either of you have experience on there, or did you have an
I mean,
idea where you wanted to start? Or
I guess I'll go first. Yeah, I've been up there one time before, a couple years ago for the Hobie event.
Mhm.
Had a good pre-fish for that one, but things conditions changed, and I didn't do too good come tournament time. And I knew going into I was leading AOI going into this tournament, and still knew there was mathematically there was like 4 or 5 people that were still in contention, to
Yeah,
pass me up. So I knew, doing the math, I knew I needed at least a 6th place or better to lock it up, to make sure that, yeah, I think the guys in contention was Nick Dyer, Greg DePalma, um, Marty Hughes, and Tom Kazmierski. Is that how he's a local guy? Is that how you pronounce his last name? I don't know.
I think so.
Um,
That's always how I've said it, at least. Maybe
yeah,
wrong, but
and so I want to get up there early. I put a lot of time just doing map study and watching videos and stuff. And um, there was one thing I kind of want to just bring to attention. There's a lot of chatter involved in this tournament, a little bit of drama, and just the typical KBN bullshit that goes on.
yeah.
And yeah, just I did
Surprise,
want to take,
surprise.
of course, right? That's what they do, and a lot of times, to be honest, I have a bit of an issue with how they handle things. Sometimes they tend to, will tell one
Poke
little
the
part of
bear.
the story on something to kind of create this narrative where people come to assumptions on what happened just by a little piece of the story. Um, and this time it was involved around Jeff Little, doing a lot of, well, he was filming. Basically, we get up there Sunday, and Jeff Little filmed with a number of people, including myself and Christine. I got up there. Christine hitched a ride up there with somebody. She needed to borrow a kayak, and so when I got up there, I was kind of stuck with her in a way, which I didn't mind. She's done a lot for me, and she's she's a great person, great friend of mine.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I had to. Me and her were teamed up together to kind of pre-fish together, and she told me, she's like, "Hey, we're gonna do some filming with Jeff Little tomorrow," and that whole kind of made me think. And I even went to her. I don't know exactly how I feel about that. I've kind of made it a point this last month, even talking to some friends and stuff, to try to really just avoid talking to him. He's a good friend of mine. I actually wanted to make a bunch of baits for. I told him I was going to make a bunch of baits for him. He did me a couple of really nice things. But I said I'm going to wait until after the tournament to talk to him. But
Yeah.
but I get up there and she's like, "Yeah, we're going to do some filming." And I told her, if I do well, and people know I talked to Jeff, they're going to come to assumptions that, they're going to try to discredit my accomplishments by saying, "Well, Jeff Little, showed you everything," or whatever. And
Yeah.
talking to her when we talked about it, and like,
Anybody
Jeff
that
Little
really knows you, I don't know that they can
Jeff
make
Little is a
that
guy.
argument.
So he's a YouTuber that is a local. For those of you who don't know Jeff, he's a local angler up there. He's been kayak fishing he's one of the pioneers of kayak fishing. Really, he's been doing it for close to 20 years. That's his home water. He fishes up there a bunch, and he also works for Torquedo, which is one of my main sponsors. And a lot of times before, not just this tournament, but a number of the tournaments, he'll go up there and film people's pre-fish and film people during the tournament. And
yeah, I've seen a
he's
couple
filmed
of the
me.
ones he's done for you, like the
Yeah, and
Kentucky Lake one, and there
yeah,
was one in like Alabama or
KBFNC.
something.
Yeah, a few
It's
times.
pretty cool footage. Like I like watching them.
Dude, he's awesome. He's just an awesome guy in general. He's one of my favorite people. And I just appreciate any time, somebody's willing to take the time, especially a sponsor or something like that, to take time to go out there and film me and edit the stuff. And he's just such a positive influence on the sport of kayak fishing and just the stuff that's out there. And there's probably nobody out there that helps grow the sport as much as him. And I kind of felt like after kind of rationalizing it, I kind of felt like I owed it to him to spend a day out there and help promote Torquedo and do some filming with him. So I went out there, did some filming with him and Christine. I said he did bring a few rods with him. Majority of the time he was filming.
Yeah,
but a few times
it's kind of hard to be out there and not have a rod with you.
Yeah, what other times he did? Yeah, during the tournaments and stuff, like the NC when he filmed me and stuff, he didn't have a rod then. I think during the tournament he filmed Drew, and he didn't, obviously didn't bring a rod or anything when he was with Drew, but he did bring a rod with us, and he did. We fished a few areas. Christine kind of picked the spot, and we did a downstream to upstream float, covered about 5 miles. And, after we did that float, I already knew right then and there, like, all right, well, this is an area I will not be fishing in the tournament. I made a conscious, decision. That's because, and anything that he threw, the stuff that he was using and throwing was the same stuff, that he uses in all his videos. Anything like there's no secrets, no surprises. It's just all, his little crankbait and his top water jerk shad and all that. But he posted a couple videos of me, did a video of me and Christine, put up a couple reels, and next thing you know, everybody's up in arms because they're saying, it's an unfair advantage that he was out there. And like I said, he's not a guide. The rule is you can't pre-fish a month before the tournament with a guide. So he is not a guide. He's a local angler. And that's all just like any, be the same as like going into a tackle shop and talking to a guy at a tackle shop that was a local angler, or seeing a bass boat out on the water and talking to him. It was a local angler. So, so people were upset about it though. And
I mean, I can understand where people
I do.
might get the
I
wrong
understand.
idea about
And
but
and I do. I get it. I get why people were upset. But no rules were broken, but I feel like I was kind of the center point of the criticism on KBN, and not just this time, but a number of times they've come out and said things about me that might have been factual. Like one little piece of information, like when I got disqualified for fishing in a marina that had a sign that I didn't see. But they'll take that and they'll spin it and they'll turn it around. Next thing you know, I have people coming at me saying I'm a cheater or that they're really disappointed in me. And then I have to have conversations with a lot of people that are at times close friends of mine that are misled by what these guys are saying and doing, and that's something that I've been kind of quiet about. But I'm standing up for myself now, and I'm saying that it's not okay to do that. It's not okay to try to take down the people like myself or Drew Gregory or Jeff Little, or for that matter, even Chad Hoover. There's a lot of the people that are attacking. But if you start attacking these people, who are big influences on the sport, they're the ones that are help grow in the sport. And if you tear them down, and then even the tournament directors, I feel bad for Steve Owens for all the bullshit he had to deal with.
Can't
on
imagine
this.
how much he's got to deal
with.
with.
It's like, and it's, a lot of times they do this knowing what the truth is, but knowing if they can take one little piece of something and make a story out of it and create drama and create this narrative, it's going to get ratings, it's going to get views. And it's a really self-centered, thing to do, just to burn other people and tear other people down for their own personal interests and benefits.
It's really disheartening, and
it is
trolls that get to dictate like what is out there, and it's hard to combat it once it's already out there.
It is, and I'm just out to say that the area I fished was an area that, if anything, Christine helped me. I was pre-fish with Christine. We'd fish. She'd pick a spot a day. I'd pick a spot a day. And really, I owe her a lot of thanks, because the area, she didn't tell me at the time, but the area that she picked to launch out of was the area that that me and her both ended up fishing a tournament. And she gave me an honest chance too. She didn't tell me that that's where she'd been fishing the last number of years and cash checks. And she gave me a fair shot to fish there. And we fished a few other areas. We both didn't know where we were going to be fishing. And on Friday, I said, "Hey, I'm going to fish out of this area." And she's like, "Yeah, it's where I fished the last, 3 or 4 years. So I got, we'll share it." And she was really cool about it. And I, thank her for doing that and giving me a fair chance at it as well. But I fished that area. I fished, I'll tell you about the tournament. I fished a mag draft and a Nico rig first day. And I was like, it's a fish, a mag draft, and a Nico rig. And before I get in
a true mag draft, or were you using, there's all kinds of different styles out there
there's
nowadays.
So I threw three different colors. Like I said, the watercolor changed depending on where you were at. So I threw the albino, the white one in the dirty water. Through the white back, which is kind of that grayish back with a transparent, a little bit of glitter in the stained water. And I threw the brownie in the clear water. And I threw it on a 8/0 3/8 ounce owner beast hook. Weedless, and I missed a lot of fish too. It was less than 50% hookup ratio.
Smallmouth hitting that, I feel like it's hard to sometimes.
Especially the smallmouth, up there, they have even smaller. Up north, the mouths are even smaller on smallmouths up north than they are in Tennessee. So I'd miss, especially the first day. I was going to pre-fish, and I saw what the weather conditions were doing. I saw that we're going to be getting all this rain, and I made a conscious effort to mark in that 3-mile stretch. Once I kind of figured out where I wanted that was the area I wanted to fish, I went back last day of pre-fish, marked an additional probably 100 waypoints. And my goal is just to have as many targets to hit as possible, because I knew once the tournament time came around, that water was going to rise. We're going to get some wind, some weather. The water was going to dirty up, and I wouldn't be able to see all those little ambush points. So I marked every rock, every little stump or piece of wood or grass line or shoal. I leave a few waypoints on a shoal. And come tournament time, I just went directly to each waypoint and make a few casts on it. And sometimes I'd miss, I catch one, or sometimes it'd be a shoal where it'd be like a few waypoints lined up and make one pass with the swim bait. I'd maybe hook one or miss a couple or whatever. And then the second pass, I'd come out with as a bang stick, a Nico rig bang stick. And I picked up my 3 biggest ones actually on the bang stick on that first day. But
cleaning up with the bang stick.
Yeah, and second day, man, it was. I have all the footage too. I can't wait to see it. But second day, I went up to the spot that I did best on the first day. I kind of hit it in the middle of the day on that first day, but I pulled up there to start on it, and I got 95 inches of smallmouth in 32 minutes, and I lost 4 giants.
That
I saw that, bud.
I saw that. Unreal. That was the best. That was insane. I can't wait to see the footage. It was really cool.
Wow, so
And then I had a
95
couple
inches in like
upgrades
30 minutes.
in 32 minutes. Yeah, it was start 7:30. It was 8:02, 95 inches.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to start day 2.
Yeah, and after that, yeah, I kept that through that mag. That's the only thing I threw the rest of the day, and I got I think one more 19 and a 20 to cool up a little bit.
Wow.
But one other thing, besides, it wasn't. I talked to Jeff about all that too, and after me, him, and Steve, and we had a big discussion. And for people who think it was just me or Christine or Drew, it was. I talked to him. He said over 25 people that were competitors, over 25 competitors in the tournament talked to him and asked for information in the weeks leading up to that tournament. So
Wow.
and like I said, no rules were broken. Nothing was done wrong. Nothing, you know. Yeah, in my mind, I have no issue with it. I understand how some people, can look at that and say, it's not fair. But it's like, all right, well, the next thing that there's been talk of is, well, we're going to make it so you can only pre-fish with other competitors in the tournament. And I'm like, that's what they do. Like, I'm all right. I'm going to follow the rules. I'm going to, do whatever they say is fair and what everybody thinks. And I'm fine with that. But, you start doing that, and then it's like, well, then people can still talk to other people that are non-competitors. And it's going to be, no talking to anybody about information. It's going to be pretty much what the Bassmaster, elite guys have to, and the MLF guys have to deal with. Which,
Yeah.
if you guys want to do that, it's fine, but there's a consequence to pay if you're going to do that, and it is going to take some of the fun out of the sport, and it's going to make.
True.
Anytime you go talk, you can't go in a tackle shop and talk to anybody. You can't,
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
I'll give my take kind of on that, because I was on KBN last night, and like I don't have anything against those guys, but I obviously haven't been in a position where I kind of felt attacked. Ryan and Jeff have been cool with me, but I did go on there and sort of have to defend myself, because apparently somebody sent a DM about where I fished, and then I will tell you, like, as someone, I haven't won a bunch of these tournaments. I've only fished 2 national tournaments ever, and like it feels really shitty to feel like someone's trying to discredit your win. And most of the time, I'm not saying it's like those two, because like I said, I don't have anything against those guys, and I enjoy the banter and stuff, but I do think it goes too far at times. But here's the thing, like, I think some of the guys in that group, their like mission is to kind of just stir the pot.
Yeah.
And
They're fecal agitators is what we call them.
yeah, and I think that group is like one of these things, we just let people talk and we don't censor them. And I respect that to a certain extent. It's like, hey, you just let people say whatever. But like, if there is if it goes across the line of like, hey, we're not just like, we're doing it to stir the pot. That's the purpose behind it. It's not to like legitimately bring something up. And Ryan did say it last night on KBN. He was like, hey, if you got a problem, like he told the dude that said something about me, like, oh, you got a problem, go to the tournament director. I mean, I read the rules before, because I don't fish these all the time. I fish local tournaments.
Yeah.
And I read all the rules, and part of the rules, there is a protest period. There's a way you can go formally protest. I mean, if you really are concerned about somebody breaking the rules or whatever, like, there's a process to do it. And it's not to go to KBN and DM Ryan or Jeff. Like, that's not part of the process. The process is to like actually, because otherwise you're just shit talking. Like, that's the way I look at it. Like, you're just shit talking and you're trying to defame somebody. Yeah. I mean, it's just not, it makes the person, like I said, that's the first time I got a text. I was over at my buddy's house. I host a podcast, Smallie Talk, and we were getting ready to record a podcast celebrating my win. Then I get that text from Jeff. Is like, hey, we're going to ask you a couple questions. Just want to give you a heads up that, somebody DM'd us about that. I mean, that made me like it. I had a bad night.
It brings you down, even though
I got pissed
one of the
off.
highest highs that you can have.
Yeah. So I went on that show like firing on all cylinders. I was like basically telling those guys they could I'm not gonna say it on here,
Yeah.
but I was fired up, dude.
Well, the
I was
other
like,
thing that they said, the other thing that was brought to attention was, and like I said, you know what, Ryan, I'll say that Ryan and Jeff, they're good podcast hosts. They're entertaining, they're knowledgeable, they also do a lot of good to the sport and bring a lot of things to light, and
For sure.
and they get a lot of attention, and it's a good show. But the thing is 90% of it's a good show, and the other 10% is really what they get their attention to, is stirring the pot and saying, like I said, they're kind of like the CNN of kayak fishing, where they'll take one little piece of information
sure
and
it's not Fox
create
News, dude.
this narrative. Another thing that they said was, and they put my name in the mix, was Stormy from Dakota Lithium. He's the rep for Dakota Lithium batteries.
Yeah.
He went out, and I had no idea. He went out on a guide trip at the Susquehanna about a couple weeks ago. And they insinuated, it doesn't look good, which maybe it doesn't, but they say, it doesn't look good when you got the Dakota Lithium guy going out on guide trips, insinuating that he's giving us a bunch of waypoints. And that's not the case. I haven't talked to Stormy in a month. Yesterday was the first time I talked to him in a month. The first thing I asked, because I was getting accused of having waypoints sent to me by Stormy, which is definitely not the case. And I asked Stormy, I'm like, did you give any, before I talk about this, I want to make sure you did not talk to anybody on our pro staff. And he assured me that he did not talk to a single person giving waypoints. But when you go on a podcast and try to paint this picture of me that I'm getting waypoints from Stormy, and that Jeff Little's the reason why I'm doing well in this tournament, they'll give one little piece of information and let people make up their own mind of what that means.
Well, and I don't think there's any doubt you're a freaking hammer for us.
I mean, I know that, but
that's
what
I'm
sucks
saying.
When I have people coming up to me, and I hear it from other people. I talked to Christine, and she's like, "Yeah, my friend." I won't name people, but they're like, "Yeah, what's up? I heard Rus is like a cheater. I heard he cheats all the time," and that's what then I have to deal with that. It's like, I take a lot of pride in just following the rules and being a good person, and my integrity is important to me. So when people do things to make people question my integrity, I'm not okay with that.
Especially since part of your livelihood, I'm not speaking for you on this, but maybe part of your livelihood is your sponsors and your tournament performance and all that. So when they're dragging your name through the mud like that, that hurts your sponsors.
It affects me. It does.
It affects you in a lot of more ways than just
my integrity and reputation is way more important to me than any tournament wins or any of those accomplishments. That's the most important thing to me. And I try to treat other anglers on the water with respect, and I make a big deal about that,
And I feel like if a lot of these people that are saying this stuff realize how much time on the water that you spend and how hard you work to get to where you are in these tournaments, then they'd be like, okay, yeah, he's not buying waypoints and doing this kind of, he doesn't need to do that from what experience that you have.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the platform to talk about this and go on a little rant and defend myself.
Yeah, no worries.
I appreciate that.
Well,
back to fishing. That's over with.
Had
say what I need to say.
Right. Well, back to fishing. Josh, we hadn't heard about your pre-fishing. We kind of got Rus's pre-fishing and his day one, day two kind of breakdown. But so give me a little bit of a breakdown of how you approach pre-fishing, and then we'll go into day one and day two.
Yeah, sure, man. So I going there, I had mentioned this is the third time I've been there this year. The other two times I have a jet boat, so it was real early spring. We took the jet boat down there and ran around, and that was pre-spawn time. They were caught some both staging and actually spawning, but it was that trip didn't do anything from a pattern standpoint. Obviously, it was in April, but when you're on water like that, this, especially the spawn, it really tells you a lot about like how the river sets up, because you start to see like where fish are coming from, and you start to see like, okay, well, they're spawning here, they're staging at this creek mouth, and like really what it's doing is making the river like shrink, because that river is so freaking huge. It's overwhelming. And I had been there about a month and a half ago, and I fished with my dad and my brother. We do like a father-son thing, and we were there for, I think we fished 3 days, and I took the kayaking and the jet, and we were like, same thing. It's like the pattern didn't really help me much. We did crush him on that trip. Like we had
Yeah, for
101
sure.
inches in 3 hours one evening. So it was,
Golly.
dude, it was wild, dude. It was absolutely nuts.
That sounds freaking awesome.
Yeah, and it was actually similar situation. The river came up, but I think it crested at Sunbury at like 9.5 feet or something like that. It came all the way up to 11 feet when we were here, and
Wow.
they got pushed to the banks, and that was like game over. But like it was
Yeah.
like I was catching them around tree trunks. It was that were dry 2 hours before that, but it was
Wow.
super cool. I mean, 321s on that trip. It was wild, but yeah.
God.
But anyways, I guess that trip kind of like same thing. I'm seeing like how this river sets up, and really that river you have to break down into sections. Like you can't understand, it really doesn't do you any good to understand like the total river. You really just have to break up like a section of it and try to understand like, all right, where are they spawning? Where are they wintering? Where are they moving to in the fall? This tournament, it was like early to mid fall, which can be really tricky on a river.
Yeah.
Because like when you think of like fall, like as like you're entrenched in the fall, like everybody says they're wolf pack, and they weren't doing that. Like I didn't really see a bunch of fish trailing when I was catching fish. Like they
Most
weren't
of the
like
time, I don't
piled.
see that kind of activity until like November, kind of
Yeah.
almost early December is when I start seeing a lot of that stuff. But
Yeah, the water temps were still like 70 when I got there. It did
wow.
drop because we had a cold front come through. I think that was probably around, low 60s where I was at by the time I left. But there definitely wasn't this like, oh man, they're in fall patterns, because you can really hammer them when they do that.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a weird thing. I was like, I don't really know what we're gonna find when we go there. But I had marked a couple spots that I had actually never fished. The spot that I wanted on, which was like a very super small. I fished 100-yard stretch of river for 2 days. Like I didn't leave it. Like I
Wow.
stayed in one particular area. I'd never even been there, but it was kind of one of those things like back in the spring, somebody made a comment like, oh, that area fish is really good in the fall. So I was like, well, I'll go check that out and kind of see what's cracking there. So
Yeah.
I went there on Thursday. I got there Wednesday night, and I didn't get a chance to fish on Wednesday. I got there too late, but I get up Thursday, like first thing by myself. I have a iTrek, like Hobie I-11, so I
Okay.
can just car top it and
Yeah.
throw it in. And I went down the spot, and I caught 220s and a 19 in like 45 minutes. And like
Wow.
it was my first like spot I was like wanted to go check out. And I was like, oh wow, like this is like big fish here.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not gonna fish it anymore. I left. There was actually quite a few guys around that area fishing, but I didn't see anybody on that particular spot that I wanted to fish.
Hmm.
So I was like, well, that's where I'm gonna go, and at least on day one, and kind of see what happens.
What do you think made that spot such a good spot for the fall?
So theoretically speaking, and this is me trying to understand what the fish are thinking, which is, sometimes not
Yeah.
always what
Just
actually
shooting
they're
the
thinking,
yeah.
but it's sort of like a pinch point. There's not really anything else around there that would hold fish.
I see.
And there was like bait up there. They were pushing bait into this pinch point, and like what ended up playing out is like what I thought is you would have these fish, like big fish, and this is what I was getting at, is like the fall time is the same thing that happens the rest of the year. Like the big alphas, and I'm not even talking about 18s, like I'm talking like 19.5, 20s, 21s, they
Mhm.
always do things first. So like spawn, like if you want to catch big spawning fish, like you fish like a month, 3 weeks before you would think like traditionally that you're gonna think of
Yeah.
spawn. Same thing pre-spawn. Like if you think pre-spawn's like, like mid-March, early April, you need to be fishing the end of February. Like that's
Yeah.
usually what I found. Like the big fish do things first before the other ones. And from what I like putting the puzzle pieces together, this was like a fall spot where all the traditional fall fish hadn't got there yet. It was just like giants that were
Wow.
there, and they
Yeah.
were kind of doing the fall feed thing, but it wasn't very many. It was like, I mean, I said it in the awards. I caught 8 fish on Saturday and 9 on Sunday. So
Didn't catch
like it
a
was like,
muskie too, right? You should
yeah.
talk about that muskie story. That was
Oh yeah, that was
good.
wild. But yeah, like as far as pre-fishing goes, like I found those fish and I left that area and I was like, I'm gonna fun fish the rest of the time. Like I wanted to just go out
Yeah.
and have fun. Like I wasn't really pre-fishing, like because I knew what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
And day one, Russ knows, like day one kind of dictates the way you fish that tournament. Like if you go and hammer them on day one, then you're kind of like, all
You're
right, I
still in
got something here.
contention. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to start somewhere. You got to have some sort of like game plan to go start, and then a lot of times you'll just kind of like let the fish dictate what you do the rest of the day, and then you can kind of like figure it out from there. And I just happened to go there on day one, and just what I saw in practice ended up happening during the tournament. So that was sort of, I guess, just to wrap up the practice. I actually had caught another 20 in a complete 30 minutes down the river
Oh
on
man.
practice day 2, and then the second day I went way up on the North Branch just to like check it out because I'd never been up there, and I caught like 2 18s and a 19 and about 100 12-inch fish. It was like full
Yeah.
of dinks, um but yeah, that was kind of my practice. So I kind of knew like, all right, man, I'm going back to this spot and I'm gonna like sit on it and see what happens. That was kind of the way
Did you
practiced. So.
develop any kind of pattern per se on the spot, or were you just kind of like cycling through different types of baits to try to get um
Yeah, I caught them different stuff in practice than I did during the tournament. I caught one. I throw like a nose hook fluke. That's like my favorite thing to throw. It's super
yeah.
versatile. I throw it a lot. Guys like locally here, it's called the Chrenko rig. Like it's just what like I throw it a ton, and I use it a little bit different than a lot of people use it. But I caught 2 on that, and then 1 on like I think a little flat sided crankbait. I was throwing like bait fish imitating type stuff. Like that's what I was focusing on. I
Yeah.
wasn't throwing anything crawfish imitating, but I went into the tournament like I didn't really know what I was going to catch them on. And I actually went to the tournament. We got a bunch of rain up. I stayed way up. Like our house was on the North Branch, and
Yeah.
we got rain. We got hammered with rain. So when I got there, one side of the river, there was a creek kind of coming in. One side of the river was like chocolate milk, like 2 inches of visibility, and the other side was clear. And I caught all my fish in the clear water on the first
Mm.
day. So I threw a little bit of everything. I don't know if you want me to go into day one, but I can
Yeah,
if you want
go
me
for
to.
it.
On day one, I go down the spot and I'm like, I'm over in the clear water. I'm there for 2 hours. There was one guy that came up there and caught a fish and then left. And then I was fishing this clear water and I wasn't getting any bites. And, you go 2 hours in the first 2 hours of the tournament and not get a bite, and you're like kind of relegating yourself to this like small spot. I was
Starts
starting to
getting a little
sweat.
stressful, yeah.
Yeah, starting to sweat a little bit. And guys had, kind of heard like guys were catching them on swim baits. I heard that like several people were like, yeah, we catch them on mag drafts and stuff. Well, I had a bull shad I tied on the night before, and I was like, well, I'll just throw this bull shad. So, and
Yeah.
that was like what I was catching them on. I caught 4 pretty quick. I think I had 4 by 10:30,
Wow.
and
What size bull shad are you throwing? Like
is a
the baby
6-inch.
bull shad or the 6-inch?
Yeah, 6-inch resin bullshit. It was like
Okay,
full size.
nice.
Yeah, so I ended up catching 4 on that by 10:30. So that's 3 hours in
Wow.
tournament. I got 4 fish. and one of them was like a 17.75, which I knew was not going to cut it, but I was like, whatever, it's a filler fish. And then that's
That's
when Rus
crazy
was,
that a 17.25, it's not gonna cut it on this one.
oh yeah, dude, I knew that was a trash fish. I got to get rid of that.
Yeah.
And then that's when I hooked into that muskie. I thought it was a flathead at first because there's like a bunch of catfish up in that spot. And
Okay.
I hooked into that. And this muskie, dude, freaking absolute giant, biggest muskie I've ever seen in
What?
person. Like, it's like,
Dude.
I mean, it was massive, dude. And keep in mind, I'm in an inflatable
Yeah, does
with
that
the
thing just, like, spinning you around in circles?
it didn't spin me, but I pressed my button on my reel and just like letting it run, and then but
Yeah.
it kept jumping, it kept coming out, and it was like I've caught a handful of muskie in my life. I've never seen one jump like vertical like that. Like it was like tail walking,
What?
and it was like every time it'd take your breath away because it was just so big. And I
Yeah.
was like, there was a little scrub island like behind me, and I was trying to like pedal back to like kind of let it wear out and just drag it up on that island and get my
Yeah.
swim bait back, and it inevitably jumped and got my line wrapped around its gill plate. I think that's what happened, and it just cut me
No.
off.
No, so
So
you lost your bull shad
I lost
and
my
the
bull
fish?
shad. Yeah, 4
Dang.
fish, really, with one that I definitely needed to cull. And so, and I'd only gotten 4 bites all day. Like that's all I'd gotten. So I
And
went
then you
through my
just lost your bait that you're catching everything on?
yeah, which sometimes it doesn't matter. That particular time, I was like, it shattered my confidence.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this is not good. Like, I was
Especially,
like,
like, that kinda sucks too, losing, like, a trophy muskie like that.
oh, I didn't care about the muskie, dude. I just
You
wanted
wanted
that
that
bullshit
bullshit.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't care about the
Can't blame you.
muskie. I was like, I don't even know if I'm gonna take a picture of this thing. I just want my bullshit back. So
Yeah.
I I ended up fishing for 2 hours without a bite, and I went through I have this little, I don't fish swim baits, dude, but I had that box with me because I'd heard swim baits were kind of hot at that tournament,
Yeah.
and I pull it out and I'm like digging through there. I had like big S waver. I threw that. I threw a couple other things. I could not get a bite, dude, and I was like starting to spin out. Like I was like,
Oh, man.
really, I was going
Yeah.
through all these scenarios in my head. Like, if I don't catch 5 fish a day, I'm just gonna go home, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here with 4 fish. Like, there's no way I'm gonna,
Yeah,
do well. So
not the way that this event set up, at least, like, 4
yeah,
fish is not even gonna you're not even gonna have a chance at this one.
yeah. So I kind of gathered myself. I went over to that island. I got a drink, ate a little snack, and then I went through that box and I saw that I actually have it right here. It's Mag Slow. I don't know what color that is. It's like a
Did you leave the
um
feather on?
I did, yeah. Yeah, I left the
Wow.
feather on. Um and I tied it on and went back to that spot in like the third cast, dude. I wrecked like a 19 and a half. And that was my 5th fish, and I specifically remember having it in my net and like going back to the eye because I was measuring all my fish on that little island. So because that I-11, dude, they could flop off like super
Oh, yeah,
easily.
for
So
sure.
um, so I'm like pedaling back there to that island, and I remember just like it was like the weight of the world just like got lifted off my shoulders, dude. I
Yeah.
exhaled, and I was like, this is like the most relief I felt in a long time. Um, so I did that, and then I ended up going back to the spot, and I caught like 2 or 3 more and culled both of those. And I
Very
think I had
nice.
96.25 that first day. So I knew what I didn't upload any fish till I had 5. I didn't look at the leaderboard. I had no idea what anybody was doing. And as soon as I did, my wife texted me. She's like, "Oh my God, you're in the lead." And
Don't
yeah, I
jinx
was
it.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, shut up. I just need to freaking concentrate here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I felt good after that was my day 1 though. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, you and a ton of other people smashed him on day 1. You had, like, I'm trying to go down the leaderboard here, 12th place still. Drew had 90 inches still, all the way down to, like, what does 85 inches get you? 30 something place. Like, 85
Yeah.
inches is usually a good day, and that's way down there. I mean, not super far, but still in this event, like, top 25% of the field had 80 something inches or better.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Doesn't surprise me. So.
Healthy fishery, lots of big fish caught. So going into day 2, you had the lead going into day 2. And
Yeah,
Rus,
day
where are you
2.
sitting at? It's day 2. Rus, you're sitting in 5th day 2.
Yeah, I saw you there, bud. So
I was on your heel.
yeah. Well, do you want to talk about your day 1, Rus? Sorry, man. I'm not trying.
Told the whole
Oh,
story.
you did? Okay. Got you. You
Yeah.
can talk about day 2 then, dude. So
No, I already did. Day 2. Hold on. Everybody's dying. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, day 2 is the first day was when I was doing the mag draft and then following it up with the Nico rig.
Okay.
And then second day was when I had that crazy morning where I got 95
yeah.
inches in 32 minutes. And I just stuck with that mag draft and got the water came up a lot. That's when they released the water out of the dam.
Yeah.
This was like Saturday afternoon. So that water
Yep.
came way up and I mean they loved it.
Yeah, I mean,
some
I'm
areas were
looking at
tough though. It wasn't. I had to definitely make some adjustments. Some of the areas were blown out where I was, where it's just too muddy. It got muddier and muddier throughout the day. So I had to make a couple big runs and fish some newer stuff. I'm glad, during pre-fish, the river's so wide. I zigzag just back and forth everywhere. I wanted to have every single target possible in that like 2.5 mile stretch.
Yeah.
And I wasn't too focused on the really clear water, but I'm glad I marked all the areas that were in that clear water. I was focusing more like pre-fishing the stained water side or the muddy water side was really just stained. It was like perfect watercolor. So that was like optimal. But then once all the rain and the water came up, all that area got like chocolate milk, and then all the area that was clear then that was more the optimal stuff where it was stained. So I'm really glad I marked so many areas in that stuff, because even though I didn't think I was gonna fish it, I ended up having to fish a lot of that stuff on that second day.
How do you manage that many waypoints? Like, do you have them all marked as different stuff?
I wish I did going into it, because as I was out there fishing, that's like the first thing I'm like, shit, I should have took a little more time and marked, okay, this is a boulder, this is a laydown, this is a shoal, this is a grass line.
With is like, what did I use this
I
token
did,
for?
yeah.
Like,
Sometimes I will, most times I do that, but I was just marking so many and doing it so quick that I didn't take the time to like do each one of them.
Yeah.
I guess I thought I'd remember for some reason, but I had a few of them I'd have an idea. I'd see a little, ripple in the water or it was a line of waypoints where I can tell it was a shoal, or it was like in between the islands, you'd have grass and then there'd be like a defined grass line. So I'd mark a few waypoints and I'd say, okay, this is a grass line just because of the direction it's going or where it's setting up. But other things I didn't know. I didn't know what I was throwing
casting at it and like
I just try to
it out.
Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. I saw that same thing on day 2, that it was like, I said that one side of the river was like chocolate milk where that creek was coming in from the rain.
Yeah.
And then that like mud started to creep like all the way across the river.
Yeah.
And like I already had all my fish at that point, but I just knew like day 2, I was like, well, like whatever I was doing today is probably not going to work, because like they're not going to be able to see the stuff I was throwing as well. It was muddy, and like actually when I got off the river, it was super muddy.
On Saturday, first day?
Yeah, it got really muddy. Like when I got off the river, like where I launched, I couldn't even like see the rocks like right under the water, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be real bad. And then when I got back the next morning, it actually cleared up some.
Really?
So
wow.
Yeah, it had cleared up. I mean, you can kind of tell I'm like up probably farther than you, because it was like stuff was happening before, and then that was like starting to happen. So I was like, when I got in my truck, on like I do like a little tournament diary for our podcast, and I was recording. I record like on the way to the tournament, during practice, before day 1, before day 2. I was like recording before day 2. And I was like, man, I just want to, when it gets light enough, I want to get out there and see if I can see my boot in the water, because like if I can't see my boot in the water, like it's going to like really be tough because I have confidence in muddy water, but if it gets to a certain point where it's like real muddy, where it's like
Yeah,
2 inches of visibility, it's like
Mhm.
you can still catch fish, but you just have to put it so close to their face that it's just really, really tough to like depend on any sort of bite. And
Especially, I feel like with smallmouth, where a lot of the times they're visual feeders.
Totally.
yeah, very
Uh,
Yeah.
visual. Yeah. But I got there and I was wearing waders that morning because I was cold as shit the day
That's
before.
cool.
So I put waders on and had Under Armour and crap on. So I was like, I'm not gonna be cold today. And
yeah.
I put my boot in the water and it was like barely light enough to kind of make out the depth and I could see my boot and I was like, all right, I'm gonna be okay today. But I threw a jackhammer literally all day on day 2. I went back the same area and like just hammered the absolute shit out of it and threw 1,000
Yeah.
casts with that jackhammer. And
What
I
color?
did I have it right here. It's like black and red.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
That's
Nice.
it's
what
like
Jody was throwing, a black one too. That's the adjustment he
yeah,
made on the second day. That's smart.
Huh.
yep. If it's
Cool.
muddy, that's kind of my like go-to. I'll throw like black and blue, black and red, like something dark.
But
Because I
stay,
was
it's not super muddy, then I go with like a white and chartreuse sometimes. But if it
yeah,
gets sometimes it gets even too muddy for that. Then you got to go with that black, probably.
Huh.
yeah,
Have
yeah.
you
I
guys
kind of
messed
feel
around with the big bladed one at all? Like for
Mm,
that super muddy water?
I have
I
not.
have
No.
some, but I think I've thrown it once. I don't. The jackhammer was just so damn good, dude.
Yeah,
Like
it's good as it
it's
is. But
yeah. I can't get away from a jackhammer. So, I'll throw the mini max if it's a little bit, got a little bit more clarity. But
yeah,
um, and that handles really similar to a jackhammer. It's just like a tiny jackhammer.
yeah.
Um,
That
but
that
yeah,
big one, if you throw that one, it like moves my rod tip around.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
that thing's
That
that thing's got some thump to it.
I didn't used to throw jackhammers up until maybe like 2 years ago. I was always a big single bladed Colorado guy.
Mhm.
Like when it was muddy, like I would always throw a single blade. I used to throw an accent single bladed spinner bait, and that was
Yeah.
like I've won a lot of tournaments on that, like locally, when it's like stained. But dude, everybody always talks about that jackhammer, and like I was like, man, I need to start throwing that. And I started throwing it a couple years ago. And I was like, oh, well, I see why. Like,
You throw
Yeah.
that black and red one a lot? I've thrown black and blue. I can't say I throw a lot of black. I love black and red buzz bait, but I've
yeah,
never
Yeah.
thrown a black and red jackhammer, but it looks pretty sweet.
yeah, I throw that a decent amount. I mean, I don't know that like color for me is like dark. I see colors
Just
as more
dark.
like
Yeah,
dark and
dark,
light.
light, medium.
Like,
Just,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
totally.
or transparent. There's like three things like transparent,
And
like dark,
solid
and
or dark. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's kind of the way I classify colors. I mean, some guys, now I have seen it. I swear to God, I've been on trips where it's like
Yeah.
I have
You
this
gotta
like
throw the
very
super
specific
specific.
color,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Every once in a
my
while, yeah.
buddy's not catching anything, and he doesn't have the. So I'm like, I don't know if that's the true in like clearer water where color is like super important. Dirty water, I think it's more to honestly, the jackhammer is good because the vibration it puts out, like
Yeah.
in it, the when you start reeling a jackhammer in it, like immediately starts thumping. Whereas like some of those other chatterbaits, they won't right away. So I
You
think
gotta
that's
like
what
pop
makes
them and do that kind of stuff too.
yeah. So I mean, whatever. But I threw that thing all day. I did my very first fish on day 2. I hooked into it like 20 minutes after I got there, snapped it off like braid. I thought it was a muskie,
Dang.
another muskie, and then
Yeah.
like 5 seconds later, this like 20-inch, 21-inch smallmouth comes up next to my boat and jumps with my jackhammer hanging out of its mouth.
Dude, that
So
sucks.
yeah, and knowing that I only got 8 bites a day before, I was like,
That's how you
man, this
started
is
day 2?
yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
That
And then
that'd be frustrating.
yeah, I smoked an 18 and a half and a 20 and a half the next 2 casts though. So it was like I was like boom, boom, and then I went over to it's like a couple of little spots within this area. I went over to the other spot and smoked 3 of them. Like I had 5 fish before 9, so
Wow.
I was like way better than the day before. I was like, yeah, this is, but it was kind of the inverse. Now I'm like, I already have my limit. Now I just got to stare at the leaderboard and make sure Rus doesn't come up and beat me. So
That's
I was
always
like,
daunting when you got Rus behind you,
yeah, I said I
creeping
was
up on
kind of,
you.
I was over in the corner, like kind of fishing this spot, and I was like, it was before I had two. I think I had two at that point, and I looked at the leaderboard and saw, or no, I had five. Yeah, I had five. I had like an inch and a half lead on you, I think is what it was. And I audibly, I was like, all right, Rus, let's bang it out. And then I was like, well, that was really gay. I shouldn't have said that. so, so yeah. And I ended up upgrading. I only caught two more fish, scoreable fish that day, though. I caught a 19 and a half and a 19 and a quarter, I think, the other two fish
I
I
mean,
caught.
that's
And
as long as you're getting the right bites, that's all that
yeah,
matters.
it was wild. But I knew when that river came up, I was like, dude, guys are going to be absolutely crushing them. Like, I
Oh
knew when
yeah.
that flow came up, I was like, dude, they're going to be stacked up on the front of those islands, busting bait. Like, your guys are going to be throwing anything they want up there, and they're going to catch 18s, 19s. And there's some huge limits on day two. You could tell it was like the day two bite was like those fish were like feeding big time. So,
Yeah, for sure. I
but
mean, you had on day 2, so we talked about day 1, like 90 inches had you in top, what was it, 16 or something like that. No, 90
yeah,
inches was top 12. On day
yeah,
2, 90 inches had you in 23rd place.
23
holy
people got
shit.
over 90 inches on day two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
what I was saying, dude. And on the Susky though, man, when you're
yeah,
on the
that's
Susky and it's
wild.
on, dude, you
But
can
even
catch 90
yeah.
inches with your eyes closed. Like
But
it
even
is
the
like,
locals, even the locals were saying, dude, it's on fire right now.
yeah,
Like the time we got pretty lucky with the timing. I mean, the other tournaments, Susky tournaments were, about average. It sounded like it's still good, but it was
Yeah.
like, dude,
But not this.
we nailed it like this
oh
time. Like
yeah,
it's as good as it gets. That was the
I
best
I like
best week of
fishing river
smallmouth
stuff
fishing of my life. That was the
in the
best.
fall and winter. Fall and winter on the rivers is like what I like.
Yeah.
oh, I love winter fishing. Yeah, I tell you, there's like, oh man,
Oh,
he
we
fell
lost
off.
Russ there.
If there's
Oh, we'll
one
wait for him to
thing,
come back. But
yeah, if there's one thing though that I feel like has made me a lot better angler is I do fish a lot in the wintertime and I've gotten
yeah,
pretty good at it because like the wintertime is such a like it tells you so much about the fishery like because it's the big fish like are migrating and that's the starting point for pre-spawn. Like
yeah,
when you find them in the wintertime, you're like, oh, this is where they come from. They come from this spot and they move into the pre-spawn and then they go, to their spawn and then their post-spawn is the suckiest time. Obviously, that's like, hate post-spawn, but and then
yeah,
they go into their kind of summer, from there they go into their kind of summer like patterns and like the wintertime thing. Yeah, you're on. You're good.
yeah. We got you back.
Am I mic okay?
Um,
Okay, I had to go to my
Yeah,
iPad.
yeah.
yeah,
Hopefully it works. My phone died.
yeah.
Oh
The
no.
the the wintertime thing though, dude, it's like made me much better angler of the last probably 8 or 9 years. I fish year round. Like I fished, through and I catch my biggest fish of the year by far, like around Christmas.
Yeah.
That's like
For me,
that's the
it's
time
usually
when I
around like at least on the rivers. It's around like January and February is when I start catching like the biggest smallmouth and stuff that I'll find all year.
yeah, for sure. That's cool that you do that though, man. Because that's like, there's not a lot of people that'll go out when it's 20 degrees out and
Well, I mean,
snowing and
in Tennessee, it's not as bad as I guess up north.
okay, all right,
So
give you
it's,
that much credit.
it'll be
uh
like you'll still get those days where it's like 40, 50 degrees in the winter in February and
yeah,
January, and it's not as bad to be out in that.
your mic's
It's
out,
still
Russ. We can't hear you, bud. Yeah, I think you just said oh shit. It's that
yeah.
iPad, brother.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
we'll
gotta
give
wait
him a
on that.
little bit to for his phone to charge
Yeah,
before we get to the end here.
yeah.
But
uh,
anyways, yeah, fishing in the
well
like
I should
the
just talk a
river's
bunch of
fishing
shit
hot.
about Rus right now. He can't talk
Yeah.
back, so
Now he doesn't have a chance to defend himself.
I know you can hear me. uh, you just start flipping me off, dude. We can understand that language. But yeah, uh, yeah. To be honest, though, man, it was like I will take this opportunity to talk about like just the outcome of that tournament because I'm extremely humbled to have won that thing. Like as a guy who just doesn't do national tournaments, it's obviously special for me. Like from a lot of angles, man. Like I'm
Yeah,
a
no
smallmouth
doubt.
guy. I won, the kind of, in my opinion, coolest like smallmouth destination tournament that's the kayak series goes on. It was a Bassmaster tournament, and then I got to beat guys like Rus, dude. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
the
the
freaking
well-established hammers.
Mike Iaconelli's in this freaking tournament. Mike called my dad afterwards, and he was like, or as after day one, and he was like, "Holy crap, dude, you're beating Mike Iaconelli," which, I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, that dad, this isn't exactly his type of fishery, though. Like, I have a little bit of leg up on him with this one, but
Still, it's like almost local water for him. And
yeah,
him and Greg DePalma, he was also in
yeah,
that. So you got two Elite Series guys that you beat in this
yeah.
event.
And then all the local guys, I mean, geez, dude, there's like, the Harshmans of the world and Jordan Willivers and the guys that like know
Yeah.
this river like the back of their hand. Like it was it, and I will say this, like everything had to fall into place for that to happen. And I think that to actually beat 146 guys or whatever it was, that like you do have to just have everything kind of fall into place. Like there's a lot of things that are out of your control in the tournament. Like,
Yeah.
I was
But
telling on
whatever
KBN last night.
variables you can control and execute on, if you're hitting on
Yeah,
all cylinders, then
yeah,
you can make it happen. But yeah,
yeah,
like you're saying, it sometimes it just has to fall into place for you. It never
yeah.
does for me.
I,
I'm always a shit show. It's just there.
yeah, yeah.
Whatever can go wrong.
There's a tournament back home that I fish every year. It's on like my home river, and I fished it like the last 12 years, and I've never it's usually, anywhere between like 60 and 100 guys will fish it. And I've never gotten worse than fourth, but I have never won it. Like I've gotten second like 4 times. I've gotten third a bunch. And like, it's taught me that like, and I feel like I mean, I'm the best fisherman on that river at any given point. Like I think I can, whip
Yeah.
about any of them, but dude, it doesn't matter any day. You just have to have everything go right. Like all would have taken is one of those big fish jumping off that bull shad, dude, and it would have like wrecked me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
for
like
sure. And or Muskie taking your bull shad and
yeah, yeah, exactly. But
maybe it was a blessing in disguise though. So maybe you needed to make that
yeah,
adjustment to that
the
mag
mag
graph thing.
slow. Yeah. It
Yeah.
it could have been, man, but I think it just like it was cool. Everything happened. I brought home the trophy, and like I'm just soaking this up, man. Like I'm just really trying to enjoy it. My kids were watching that thing on the awards on TV, and they didn't know I was going to win it, and we're like going berserk.
Yeah.
My wife sent me a video of them, and like
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
cool.
dude, this is cool. Dad like won this thing. Like
Yeah.
it was fucking awesome, dude. Like it's so cool for that to happen. So I'm just soaking it up, man, and like taking everything I can in about it. And yeah, dude,
Yeah.
it's a cool
Take it all
experience.
in. That's I mean, that's kind of one of the special moments where you have the opportunity to do that, and it's awesome to have the awareness to like take it in while you can, and not just
Yeah.
kind of take it for granted.
Yeah. And all like while Russ is getting his phone powered up here, I'll take a second to plug my stuff. Yeah. I'll take a second to plug my stuff. So I have, I host Smallie Talk podcast. So if you haven't checked out
Yeah.
Smallie Talk and you like smallmouth fishing, hit us up. We're on all the major platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, all that stuff. Smallie Talk podcast, and then I own a Chegan brand, which is this. I think you know what that is, Rob, but it's we're the official brand of smallmouth bass. So
Yeah.
that Achigan is the Algonquin word for smallmouth. So um, the Achigan stands for one which fights, which is the, like I said, Algonquin word for
Yeah,
smallmouth.
that's dope.
Yeah, ChiganBrand.com. We sell all kinds of smallmouth gear. And then I don't really have any sponsors. Like, I'm an ambassador for Wilderness Systems, but I was on the pro team for a while before I think Rus was on it. But I fish out of a Hobie, so not really a great ambassador.
Not a good look there, but
yeah, I do want to give a shout out to my boy Chris Lemesser. So he's actually the pro
He's a cool
staff
guy.
manager for Wilderness Systems, but I'm not shouting him out for Wilderness Systems. I'm shouting him out for his net company, Broken Twig, because he makes these nets that are the handles of them are out of recycled carbon fiber hockey sticks.
dude,
So
that's awesome.
yeah, he gets and he's sent me a bunch of them through the years. I have like 4 or 5 of them in my garage, and I have prototypes of his and stuff. And like I had whispered to him about making an extension handle for the Ego nets with one, because I was like, everybody has Ego nets. I was like, dude, make one that goes in the Ego net. And he sent me a prototype, and that's what I netted all my fish with during the tournament. So I wanted to shout out to Broken Twig nets. They're the lightest freaking nets you can find on the market. So go check them out. Broken Twig landing nets. But that's all I have, man. That's all my plugs. So I'll let Rus. Rus has got legit sponsors, so we'll let him do that.
He's got his list prepared now.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I only have like 4. I got able to charge 4% on my battery, so I better be quick.
Oh yeah, make it quick.
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the sponsors that make this possible for me to travel around the country and fish these tournaments. And Torpedo put a big part in this tournament, just covering so much water, and been able to just position myself in the current, and just being hands free, and sure beat paddling, which is what I had to do in the Hobie the last time. Just that Torpedo definitely played a big part, and burned through a couple batteries a day. I definitely put it to use. I fish out of a Wilderness Systems Attack 120. I've had that kayak for 7 years, and it's definitely treated me well. And I-rod fishing, I was throwing
the check pile
that
from
mag.
That attack keeps stacking up.
It's just about all my tournaments have been fished out of that. Couple out of the Recon. I used to have a Hobie for a little bit too. And I had a Wilderness or a Native Titan for a little bit. It was the only kayaks I've owned, but Wilderness Attack has definitely been my go-to for the last number of years.
Sure.
I-rod fishing, I was throwing that mag draft on the I-rod Gen 3 junior swim rod. Awesome swim bait rod for like those 5 to 7 inch swim baits. Definitely one of my favorites. Throwing on 20-pound Seaguar fluorocarbon. Like think Yak Attack for all the great kayak accessories they make, just rod holders and camera mounts, and the black pack, newly designed black pack earlier this year, and it was put out. Things awesome. Everybody's been loving that. Catch Outdoors and a local kayak shop here in Nashville, Tennessee, Music City Outdoors. And of course, Dakota Lithium.
So you got your wall there. You can turn.
I can turn around and look. Yep. All right, got them all. Dakota Lithium. Yeah, Dakota Lithium batteries are awesome. They do so much, not just for me and my friends that I travel around with. They take care of our lodging, and also are just such a huge supporter for all kayak fishing. Probably the biggest supporter of kayak fishing, I'd say.
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
Definitely great for Stormy and Dakota Lithium and all that they do.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you having you on, man. It's always glad to have you on, and I mean, hopefully all this slander, I guess, that's going around gets sorted out. I hate to see that for you, because
it's not just me. It's a number of anglers, and it's a lot of people have told me, even it's like, just ignore it, and I have for a while, and I truly feel like I'm speaking for the majority of the kayak community when I state these things. It's not just me, and a lot of people aren't as vocal about it. But and then in their defense, KBN does a lot of their entertaining podcasts. They do some good for the sport too. They bring things to light that need to be talked about. But sometimes they just need to do it in a more professional manner and get all the facts and do it in a fair way, where it's not done to just stir the pot for their own
Yeah.
personal benefit and interests. I hope they do that. If they do that, then I will support them. But for now, I will not.
Well, I don't blame you there, but I feel like as even like if they do end up making rule changes or doing any of that kind of stuff, you still see the same people up at the top of the leaderboard
Yeah.
because they're proven that they're just great anglers no matter what situation you put them in. So
Yeah.
um, hopefully it
Yeah.
gets all sorted out, and I
I
hope
hope so.
they.
I don't, I also like to congratulate you again, Josh, for all you did. Your story was amazing, man. It was a
Thanks,
very
bro.
Yeah,
well deserved
it's
win,
cool to
man.
see the I guess the little guy win and these like
I never,
competing against the hammers.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I never mind losing to to somebody like you who just carries himself well and just seems like a really genuine nice guy. So
Thanks,
uh,
dude. I'll see you at the championship. Oh,
Oh, I
he
think we
died.
lost him.
If I can if I can find some freaking smallmouth, I'm gonna make some noise out in Oklahoma here in March.
On
So
10 killer. Oh, that's another thing that the schedule got released
yes, sir.
yesterday for Bassmaster, and it looks like
Yep.
they're going back to Susquehanna, but a different time. It was
Yep.
July 28th or something like that. I had it pulled
Yeah,
up here.
if there's water, it'll be good, dude. It's just that time of year you can get low water. So we'll see what happens. Last year, the Hobie event, there was literally no water in that river, and it was super frustrating. Although now I know how to fish it when there's no water. I learned the hard way. Um,
Yeah,
you gotta go find pockets, but yeah, dude, I'm not fishing anything but the Susky and
July
the
27th and 28th.
championship.
Yeah.
Yep. That's like can be one of those times where it can be really good or it could just be like no water. So
Mhm.
it's that's an
Hopefully
interesting.
they get some rain because it sounds like the current and everything there. I mean, most rivers fish that way anyway, but
Yeah.
that current really turned it on day two. I mean, the whole event really.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
dude. Like you get flushed with some water in any river, it's gonna, be really good for a period. Like once it tapers off and it starts to head back down, can be tough, really tough.
yeah,
But a rise on any river, dude, for smallmouth, like it fires them up because it gets all that critters and stuff flushed up out of their holes and that food's floating everywhere and
yeah,
they go berserk for a little bit. So yeah. But
yeah. I mean, so you ended up 194 inches, which is like I don't know, one of
that's
the
pretty
best.
crazy, isn't
Yeah, that's like
it?
a killer smallmouth limit
Yeah, I
in
was told that
general.
was the 2-day record on the Susky. So
Oh, really?
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
what I
even
was told.
cooler. Uh,
Yep.
I
Yeah.
mean, this is probably record breaking in general for
Yo,
the
total fish
yeah,
for
total
sure.
fish and
Yep.
total limits of above a certain inches and stuff like that. I mean,
Yep. Yeah, dude.
170 inches was 85 inches a day, had you at 30th place.
That's pretty wild. Yeah, I
That's
know, man.
stupid to me.
Yeah, have you been the Susky?
No, and it's
Yeah.
on my bucket list for sure.
Yeah, you need to go whenever, it's got some water in it. Look at the flow. I mean, you can hit me up, dude. I'll tell you what's good and what's not, as far as
Yeah,
when to go, but it's the Susky's set up to fish extremely well over probably the next 7 or 8 years because the spawns have been,
mm,
like, crazy good over the last few years, and those fish are just starting to get more and more plentiful,
yeah,
and it's only gonna get better than it is right now. Like, it
that's good
is
news. It's good to hear.
yeah, because it had a couple down years, like 2019, 2020, I think was kinda sucky, and then
Mm,
I think 2021 it started to climb back and it's back at full force right now and it is going to get nothing. I mean, it was shocking the amount of small fish I caught like mixed in with those like monsters during practice. Like
yeah.
there was a ton of small fish that are just
What kind of like limits and stuff do they have on that river? Do you know?
catch and release only.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, so the main stem is catch and release only. If you go up above the main stem into the branches, you can keep fish, and they usually don't have that in bounds. But this tournament, they had a bunch of the north and west branch in bounds, and
Yeah.
then put the lower limit where the Juniata comes in, which you can usually fish down into Harrisburg. You couldn't fish Harrisburg this time.
Mm.
So it was a kind of a different stretch that was in play for this one. It was interesting, but if you go the main stem, those where it's at, like the main stem from the Fiber Dam all the way down to Harrisburg, it's like you can't miss. You can put it in place,
Yeah.
any
And just
place,
zigzag
and
around
you
the
can,
river and
yep, and you can wreck them, dude.
uh,
Like you can wreck them. I mean, in certain places, you might not wreck as many 19s or whatever, but like
yeah,
17s and 18s, dude, are just like that river is flush with them, man. Like it's
that's awesome.
crazy.
That's cool
Yeah.
that it has the forage and everything to support that too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a cool river, dude. Highly recommend it. So,
Well, I'll have to make a trip out there sometime, and I'm looking at these nets too. They're pretty sweet. The
yeah, Chris's nets are really, really
yeah.
cool, dude. So, yeah.
Uh, well, cool, man. I appreciate having you on and having the opportunity to talk with you about your win here.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
To see
Friggin'
your
brought
excitement
this
about it.
baby home. I'm gonna
Yeah,
this
show
is
that
gonna
thing
be
off.
in yeah, it was riding around the car with me the last couple days. I was just showing random people. But
We lost Rus here, but again, congratulations to him for
yeah.
winning the Angler of the Year at this event. That's also a pretty cool
Yeah. That's a
opportunity to
really
have
big
that.
accomplishment, dude. That's consistency, dude. That's what wins those. So,
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh, well, I got a couple of tournaments I got to run through here that happened over the weekend. Let me get these pulled back up. Not as much, not a, as typical stuff. You're welcome to stay on if you want to, but
I'll probably drop off, man, because I'm gonna go eat some dinner with the fam. So,
yeah.
um,
Well, I
yeah.
appreciate having you on again.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for
I'll
sure.
have to hit you up
Anytime.
again sometime about fishing the Susky
Yep.
sometime.
Anytime you want to talk about smallmouth, dude, just holler at me. So, all right,
Yeah, the
all
Smallie
right,
guy.
hell yeah, dude. Well, good
Yeah,
meeting you, dude. So, we'll talk soon though. So,
yeah. We'll see it.
all right, man. See you. Bye.
All right, starting to wrap up this show here. Awesome having those guys on. They're great people. And unfortunate to see what's happening with Rus and Josh too. People trying to slander their and degrade their wins and their accomplishments, but those guys are great guys, and it's awesome to see what they've been able to accomplish. But without further ado, we got some other events that happened over the weekend. We had the Ontario Kayak Bass Trail 2023 Hogtober Challenge. It's a 3-day tournament. Dang, 3-day. 5 fish limit across 3 days. So your best 5 across the 3 days. All public Canadian waters are eligible. Wow. 32 anglers, 5 fish limit. Wow. First place, Rob Baginski with 102 and 3/4 inches. Second place, Adam Hammond with 99 1/4 inches. Third place was Thomas Palenziski. Butchered that. I'm sorry. It's 97 inches. Some massive limits coming out of Canada there. After that, we got the Foothills Kayak Anglers of North Carolina event, Lake Norman, Hickory, North Carolina. 38 anglers, 3 fish limit. We had first place was Austin Bang with 53 1/4 inches. Second place was Mark Linden with 50 3/4 inches, and third place was Alex Van Dyke with 50 3/4 inches. After that, we got the 2023 Queen City Kayak Bass Fishing Southern Division event number 4 on Santee Cooper. Um, 30 anglers, 4 fish limit. 4 fish, okay. The first place is Ryan Thompson with 73 inches. What's that? Divided by like 20 something inches. Wow, that's a pretty good limits. 19-inch average or 18-inch average, something like that. Second place was Frank Wolf with 71 3/4 inches. Oh, it's actually a tie, so I'm guessing there's a big fish tiebreaker there. Third place is Jason Broach with 71 3/4 inches as well. Then we already covered this, but it's the Bassmaster Kayak Series event number 5 on the Susquehanna River, 2-day tournament. 146 anglers, 5 fish limit. Uh, First place, Josh Chrenko with the 194 inches. Second place, Rus Snyders with 191 1/4 inches. And third place is Jordan Welliver with 190 1/2 inches. Some giant limits coming out of the Susquehanna this past weekend. And I want to say it was like 1,700 fish total. So it was like basically a 12 fish per person in the event. It's ridiculous. After that, we got the 2023 Texas Bass Nation Kayak Championship on Possum Kingdom, uh, which I think Bassmaster's going back to. Yep, Bassmaster's going back to Possum Kingdom in April of next year. So we may have to have Steve or someone on to talk about next year's schedule with Bassmaster. Anywho, we'll see what Possum Kingdom's producing in October. We had 51 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place with Dale Griffin with 87 3/4 inches. Second place was Guillermo Gonzalez. There's a familiar name there with 87 3/4 inches. And third place is Philip Wyatt. He was on our show just last week, I believe, with 85 3/4 inches. So congrats to him on that one. No, it wasn't last week. It was the week before. I can't remember. It was one of the weeks. We just had him on recently. But anyways, after that we got another event on Possum Kingdom, the 2023 Lone Star Throwdown. Uh is the best in Texas party disguised as a tournament. uh we had 126 anglers, so it's a pretty big event with 5 fish limit. These must have been like concurrent events. First place in that one was Jacob Mahler with 96 1/4 inches. That's closer to what I expect out of Possum Kingdom after the event we covered earlier this season. Um, to be fair, that one was in the spring, but glad to see there's still big fish there. Second place was Eric Simeon with 88 inches with a 23 1/2 in his limit. Freaking monster. Third place is Brandon Maley with 87 3/4 inches. Um, Good lord. Jeff White coming in with a 24 1/4. Tim Rodman with a 23 1/2, and Aaron Purdy with a 23. So lots of big fish still out there. Um, After that, we got the Grassroots Bass Yak and Lake Series 2023 Championship on Pawtucket Lake, Indiana. 2-day tournament, 83 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place was Brian Sparks with 143 inches. Second place was Wyatt Guard with 141 3/4 inches. And third place was Nate Godwin with 130 1/4 inches. So a little bit of a rougher event out there, but still some pretty solid fish, I guess. Those are kind of small limits, but um, glad to see people are figuring them out in what may have been tougher conditions for them. The Arkansas Kayak Anglers State Championship on Greer's Ferry. Where is this at? I guess Greer's Ferry, Arkansas. 2-day tournament, 52 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place was Krista Hibbs with 159 inches. Second place was Chris Jones with 158 inches. And third place is Bruce Stafford with 155.5 inches. So that is it for our wrap up. It sounds like all the championships and stuff are getting done this past weekend and probably for the next couple weeks. But for the most part, most people's seasons are starting to wrap up, getting closer to the holidays. I know there's a couple tournaments that'll still be happening. We got one in December on Del Hollow. That's a good one. That if anybody's listening, they ought to make it out to that. We usually have like 100 or so anglers show up for that. But other than that, it's starting to get the time where we start getting schedules released. Bassmaster released theirs. From what I've heard, Hobie's going to release theirs soon, and I imagine they're going to do it at the TOC uh, in November coming up. And we got KBF Trail Series Championships coming up. I think on Gunnersville. Probably going to have Chris or Rus back on after that event. And probably after the TOC. So we'll see what happens with that. But good luck to everybody else fishing championships. And with that, we'll see you next time. Without further ado.